violent brawl erupted in a Mahoning County, Ohio, courtroom on Thursday, as two brothers launched a vicious attack on the man who had been convicted of murdering their mother. The incident unfolded during the sentencing hearing of Dale Williams, who had confessed to the 2017 murder of his ex-girlfriend, Elizabeth Pledger. Williams had run Pledger off the road and shot her, and was scheduled to be sentenced after pleading guilty to the crime. However, the proceedings took a dramatic turn when emotions reached a boiling point in the courtroom, leading to a chaotic scene. The altercation began just before Pledger's sister was set to deliver her victim impact statement. The emotional toll of hearing about her sister's brutal murder had clearly weighed heavily on the family. As Pledger's sister made her way to the podium, one of the victim's sons, Anthony Dees, 30, was walking with his aunt. Without warning, Dees rushed towards Williams, jumped over a table, and began attacking him. It was evident that Dees was overcome with raw emotion and anger, unable to contain his feelings of grief and outrage over the death of his mother. As Dees tried to reach Williams, 3 officers in the courtroom attempted to restrain him. However, Dees was able to break free from their grasp, continuing his violent assault on Williams. His actions caused chaos in the courtroom as people around them screamed in terror. The scene grew even more chaotic when his younger brother, Jerome Stewart Dees, 23, joined the fray. Jerome, who had been standing nearby, tried to circumvent the officers in an effort to join his brother in attacking the man responsible for their mother's death.
Williams was taken out of the courtroom and his sentencing was postponed. 30-year-old Anthony Dees and 23-year-old Jerome Stewart were arrested and charged with assault, contempt of court, and obstructing official business.
Killed my mother, man. That was my mama. She took care of me, bro.
Following the altercation, both brothers were charged with contempt of court, misdemeanor assault, and felony obstruction of official business. Their outburst in the courtroom disrupted the legal process and resulted in a significant delay. While they had intended to take matters into their own hands, their violent actions only led to more charges being levied against them. The brothers' emotional outburst added further complication to what was already a traumatic and highly charged situation. A violent altercation broke out in Greenfield District Court when Eric Downs, 25, launched a brutal attack on Alfred Gaynor, the man accused of murdering his mother and another woman.
We'd like to put some agreement.
Without warning, the victim's son launches an assault. It's pandemonium in the court. The defendant's sister tries to hold the man back, but not before he delivers one last punishing blow.
The attack, which unfolded during a pre-trial hearing, was captured on television cameras, providing a shocking and dramatic portrayal of the intense emotions that can flare up in the courtroom. Along with Downs, Gaynor's sister and Downs' cousin were also charged for their involvement in the chaotic incident, as both came to the aid of their relatives during the confrontation. The tragic backdrop to this incident is the heartbreaking loss of Downs' mother, who was killed in a horrific crime. Gaynor is accused of not only murdering Downs' mother, but also another woman in a separate but equally devastating act of violence. For Downs, the courtroom served as the setting for a bitter and emotionally charged encounter with the man he held responsible for the death of his loved one. It was clear that the pain of losing his mother and the years of grief had built up in him, leading to an uncontrollable outburst. On the day of the hearing, Downs had been sitting in the front row of the courtroom, visibly upset and crying. He had been struggling to keep his emotions in check throughout the proceedings, but the sight of Gaynor in the courtroom proved too much for him. As the hearing progressed, Downs rushed toward the defense table and attacked Gaynor. Despite the fact that Gaynor was wearing leg shackles and had his hands cuffed behind his back, Downs' anger and grief drove him to violently assault the accused. Downs began punching Gaynor with his fists landing in quick succession. The defendant, restrained and unable to defend himself, could do little to prevent the assault. The attack took place in full view of the court, with many present witnessing the emotional outburst.
A deputy leads Gaynor to safety, while other officers attempt to restore order. Gaynor is later found guilty and is serving 4 life sentences. The distraught son is charged as well with disrupting court proceedings after his emotional attempt to serve justice on his own.
Court officers quickly responded, trying to separate the two men and restore order to the courtroom. However, the situation escalated further when Gaynor's sister and Downs' cousin joined in, rushing to the scene to intervene. Their actions added to the chaos as the family members took sides in what had already become a tense and violent altercation. In the midst of the struggle, both family members were seen attempting to help their respective relatives. Gaynor's sister, likely in defense of her brother, rushed toward the fray, while Downs' cousin also came to his aid. Their involvement complicated the situation, leading to a full-scale disruption in the courtroom. The officers struggled to separate all parties involved, and the scene grew even more chaotic as emotions flared from every direction. A violent and disturbing attack took place Monday afternoon in Orange, Massachusetts, when 29-year-old James Gonzalez allegedly broke into the home of a 71-year-old woman, stabbing and punching her multiple times. The woman, whose identity has not been released, was reportedly in stable condition after being flown by medical helicopter to the trauma center at UMass Memorial Medical Center in Worcester, where she received treatment for her injuries. According to a press release from the Orange Police Department, Gonzalez, who was arrested at the scene, faces a long list of serious charges. These include assault and battery with a dangerous weapon on a person aged 60 or over, assault with intent to murder while armed, home invasion, and several counts of assault and battery with a dangerous weapon causing serious bodily injury. He is also charged with assault and battery on a person aged 60 or over or disabled. Gonzalez was arraigned in Orange District Court on Tuesday and was sent to Bridgewater State Hospital for a mental competency evaluation. Due to concerns over his mental state, he is being held without bail and is scheduled to return to court on February 12th. The incident occurred around 3:40 p.m. on Sunset Drive. Authorities responded to reports of a stabbing and found 2 individuals injured at the home. Upon investigation, it was revealed that Gonzalez had entered the woman's home, uninvited, and immediately launched a violent attack, repeatedly stabbing and punching her.
It takes 8 people to pull the halls off of the defendant and pin them to the ground. More law enforcement is called in to restore order in the court. Gonzalez's mother and grandmother are in tears, and spectators are left shaking.
During the struggle, the woman's 15-year-old grandson, who was in the home at the time, was able to fight off the attacker and successfully managed to force Gonzalez out of the house. The grandson's bravery in defending his grandmother helped prevent further harm. Gonzalez's hand was reportedly injured during the altercation, though it's unclear whether it was due to the attack or a result of the struggle. While the motive for the attack has not been determined, police indicated that they do not believe it was a random act. Investigators have not released specific details about any potential prior relationship between Gonzalez and the victim, but they have reassured the community that there is no ongoing threat to public safety. Authorities have emphasized that the attack appears to be isolated and not part of a larger pattern of violence in the area. A dramatic and intense scene unfolded in a Macomb County courtroom on Wednesday when the twin brother of Jeray Robertson, a man who was executed in July, attacked the suspect charged with his brutal murder. The altercation occurred during the preliminary hearing for Jeffrey Clark, who is accused of shooting Robertson multiple times in a parking lot at Joy and Franklin following a violent dispute.
It's the 4th of July, but this is not the sound of fireworks. That's the sound of gunfire.
The incident that led to Robertson's death took place on July 4th, when authorities say Robertson and Clark became involved in an argument that began in Roseville. The confrontation escalated, and Clark allegedly fired shots at Robertson as he ran towards Fraser. Clark reportedly pursued Robertson, getting into a car with a woman before driving around the area. They eventually found Robertson running north, and at that point, Clark exited the car, confronted Robertson in the parking lot, and shot him to death. During the preliminary hearing, the prosecutor presented critical evidence, including surveillance footage from the parking lot that captured the harrowing moment of the shooting. The video showed Robertson lying on the ground while Clark stood over him, repeatedly firing shots at the victim. The powerful and disturbing footage left a visible impact on those in the courtroom, especially Robertson's family members who were present to witness the legal proceedings. As the video played, Robertson's twin brother, overcome with grief and anger, suddenly rushed towards Clark, attacking him in an emotional outburst.
Man, they gonna see you. You hit him. Man, he killed us. That's what the police are here for. He calls on that. I'm sorry. I am sorry.
Courtroom security immediately intervened, and the situation was quickly brought under control. The brothers' actions highlighted the intense emotional toll the murder had taken on the family, particularly as they were confronted with the disturbing footage of Robertson's final moments. Clark, who was wearing a tether on his ankle at the time of the shooting, had his location tracked by records that placed him at the scene of the crime. The prosecution also noted that Clark's ankle monitor data confirmed his presence in the area when the murder occurred, further strengthening the case against him. Despite this, Clark's defense team has yet to present their side, and the trial is expected to delve deeper into the details of the shooting and the events leading up to it.
So you come back here.
Thank you. That way.
So what we're gonna do?
Do you need an ambulance or anybody for that? And I'm gonna need to get you.
Be advised, you want me to call this, but it is one of the right.
That's fine.
Both of you being locked up.
In a Cedar City courtroom on February 1st, 2011, the sentencing of Tristan Jared Lamoureux for the murder of his wife, 19-year-old Misty Lamoureux, took a dramatic turn. As Jason Wilson, Misty's brother, stood before 5th District Judge G. Michael Westfall to deliver his victim impact statement, he was overcome with emotion. Tears streamed down his face as he addressed Lamoureux, expressing his profound, "I don't understand. Why did you do what you did to her? She loved you." Lamoureux, who had been seated at the defense table, appeared indifferent, rocking back and forth in his chair. This demeanor seemed to intensify Wilson's anguish. Unable to contain his grief and anger, Wilson lunged toward Lamoureux, attempting to confront him physically. The courtroom erupted into chaos as deputies swiftly intervened, restraining both men and preventing any physical altercation. Wilson was escorted out of the courtroom, and the proceedings continued without further incident. Tristan Lamoureux had pleaded guilty in January 2011 to first-degree murder for the shooting death of his wife. He was sentenced to 15 years to life in prison. Following the incident, Jason Wilson faced legal consequences for his actions. He pleaded no contest to disorderly conduct, a Class C misdemeanor, and was fined $140. The courtroom altercation highlights the intense emotions and challenges that can arise during sentencing hearings, particularly when family members confront the individuals responsible for their loved ones' deaths.